Jen Mall, and welcome to Nurse Connect. I am an RN and a board certified nurse coach. I believe that connecting with others is essential to living a happy and fulfilled life, and that sharing our stories not only helps us to heal ourselves, but also helps others by inspiring hope and optimism. I am so grateful to share stories of these incredible nurses on their journey, and I encourage you to find a way to share yours too. Thanks for listening in. Hey everyone, we'll jump onto this week's podcast in just a moment. But real quick, if you're a nurse coach or a leader and are interested in developing a hospital-based nurse coaching and wellness program, then I would love for you to join me in my Facebook group, Hospital-Based Nurse Coaching and Wellness Programs. In this group, we share best practices and resources, as well as trainings to help you develop a successful program, which will decrease turnover and burnout, as well as increase employee satisfaction. Of course, we know this leads to decreased serious safety events and improved patient experience. I have got a free mini course that I can send you to get started on this journey. I will drop the link below, and I hope to see you inside the group. Have a great day. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Jen Mall with Nurse Connect Podcast. Happy to have Amy Colombo here with me today. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jen. It's so good to be here.
Absolutely. You're one of my powerhouse nurse coach mentors unofficially. So thank you for saying yes to the invite to come today.
I appreciate that compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I always, I find that it's best for you to talk about you. And so please take us back. How did you become a nurse and kind of what has been your journey?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take a deep breath in. How did I become a nurse? It goes all the way back to childhood. Yeah, it goes all the way back to childhood. When I was in preschoolish, I remember my dad got into a motorcycle accident and landed in the hospital.
Mm.
And I used to visit him, and I remember being that young, and just like looking at the nurses and the doctors. And every time I would visit him, they just thought I was like the cutest thing. They would make such a big deal of me. And I remember saying then, like, Daddy, I want to be a nurse when I grow up. Like, I'm going to be a nurse.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it started there. And then looking back, I really decided at that point because it just never left me. It was just this like thing, like I'm going to be a nurse, and this is very good and practical for a lot of different reasons. And then as I got older and like went through school and high school, and it was like, what are you going to do when you graduate? It was just like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a nurse. It was like not a question. I wasn't really entertaining anything else. It was just nursing, and that was it.
That's amazing. And I will say that most nurses I have on, that's not their story. It is, I fumbled around a little bit. Nursing kind of found me. And I just love that this was put on your heart at such a young age and you listened and you followed your instincts and that pull to come into this profession. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you go to school locally from where you grew up?
Yeah. I was born and raised in New Jersey. So when I applied to colleges, I only applied to 2 or 3 schools. I didn't apply to many. And I got into Rutgers, which is the state university here in New Jersey, and went to school in Newark, New Jersey,
Yeah.
which, is known for crime. It's kind of like a city in New
Sopranos,
Jersey.
right?
Yeah. And I even lived on campus for a few years. So I had a campus life experience, even just going to school like 30 minutes from my house and everything. But yeah, I did it. I did it in 4 years, and at 22, I graduated, and the whole goal was, that I could be independent. That was the main thing for me. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to not depend on anybody. I wanted to be able to like buy my own house and pay my own bills and not depend on a man, which is kind of how I was raised.
Okay. And did it work
Yeah.
out that way?
It did.
Yeah.
It did work out that way. Interestingly, I was Mrs. Independent from all my friends. Most of my friends had aspirations to become mothers, wives,
Mhm.
and I didn't.
Mhm.
I was like, I just don't really care about that. Meanwhile, I was the first one to get married, first one to have kids.
Well, that's ironic.
Yes, I met my husband uh before 9/11 because I remember we were together for 9/11
Mm.
and then got pregnant right away. So I was young. I was a young mom when I had my kids. I was 25 years old
Mm.
and had twins
Oh,
and
wow.
got married. Yeah. Yeah, they're 19 now. I have 19-year-old twins.
Wow. You've grown
Yeah.
adults. That's incredible.
Yeah, they're going to be 20 soon. And then I have an 8-year-old now.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you got out of school, you kind of kickstarted your life. What type of nursing did you find yourself drawn to initially?
Yeah. Psych. Psych was the
Yeah.
thing that
Okay.
I liked the best.
Wow.
I always had this fascination with psychology
Mm-hmm.
and taking all of those basic requirements.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what lit me up, the sociology, the psychology, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing I'm gonna say that like I would never say when I was a nurse is that interestingly, despite the fact that I was this little kid that said I wanted to be a nurse, nursing
Mm-hmm.
never felt like a fit for me.
Really?
It never felt like a fit for me because of the caring,
Mm.
nurturing, empathetic aspect. It just wasn't something I was raised with. It
Mm.
wasn't something I was comfortable with or knew how to do. Something that worked as a strength
Mhm.
for me in nursing was that I had this amazing ability to shut down and shut off.
Interesting.
So I wasn't affected by the patients like the other nurses were
Yes.
so affected because they were taking everything in.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, just doesn't bother me. Like
Yeah.
I just don't take it in. Like
Yeah.
I just naturally repel it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like the backstory. But I learned how to be a nurse. Like I
Sure.
learned the skill of nursing and caring, and I got good at it and good enough at it because I do have, I have that perfectionist high achiever part of me that worked for my benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then eventually, like I had more leadership aspects of
Okay.
it. The last 8 years of my 23-year career were
Incredible.
in management.
Okay.
And that felt like home to me.
Yeah.
Like once I became, I worked up on the floor, like I was the clinical coordinator, and that
Yeah.
felt great. But once I got off the floor in, regular clothes, not wearing scrubs in an office, managing employees, I would take employee drama any day over patient drama.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is, I feel like very different than most nurses, but
Yes.
we need nurse leaders. We need good, solid nurse leaders because, and I have worked in a nursing leadership role and I hated it because I hated all the administrative stuff. I hated all the drama. I loved my people, but I hated running a department. Those things. I needed that direct, like, connection, not even patient care. I'm a nurse educator, but I needed like not management stuff. So I love that that was your specialty and you thrived in it.
Yeah. And you asked me where I started. So I started in psych
Mhm.
and then I just like hopped around the first three
Yeah.
years. Like I did psych and I did travel and I
Yeah.
did med surge and I did cardiac
Yeah.
tele and then I landed in rehabilitation nursing,
Mm-hmm.
which was a way better fit for me because
Nice.
the acute care setting was too fast. Like
Mhm.
I felt like a dummy in the acute care
Mhm.
setting. Like I couldn't handle that fast pace of an
Thanks.
acute care unit floor. It
Yeah.
was too much for me to handle. So I would only last like 10 months on a
Yeah.
unit. And then I ended up in a rehabilitation hospital. And that was a great pace for me. And
Yeah.
interestingly, I like it's interesting how you can be the dummy in one facility and you could
Mhm.
be the leader in another
Yeah.
because I really, really shined in
Yeah.
rehab. Like it was
Yeah.
just the right pace for me. And I worked up the clinical ladder on the floor, became the charge nurse and the clinical coordinator. And I just felt like great. Like I was being recognized for the strengths I had there and wasn't like, like constantly in my face for the strengths that I didn't
Yes.
have, which were those real nursey clinical, fast on your feet, like critical thinking, like just
Yeah.
sciencey, like that just wasn't, it just wasn't a strength of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for being honest about that because I think
Yeah.
we see a lot of our new nurses, especially now, that they just kind of are floating around there trying to find their fit. And they feel like there's something wrong with that. Like that they are not a good nurse and a good human because they can't stay in one place because it doesn't feel right. And so you're normalizing that it's okay to jump around a little bit, figure out what works for you because you never know when you finally land in the spot that you thrive in. And if you didn't try, you would never get there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You have to try new things. We know that as
Mhm.
coaches, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I would just be so uncomfortable, in a role that I would get up and leave.
Mhm.
Also,
Mhm.
have an avoidant. It's interesting because I have an avoidant attachment injury from
Ooh,
childhood. So
okay.
I'm the one who's like got one foot out the door before I get in. So it's kind of like that in my jobs too.
Oh. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
do you ever reflect back? I mean, not we can't go back and change the past and everything happened for a reason. But do you wonder if you had worked through that attachment challenge, do you think you would have stayed in those roles? You would have done things differently?
Yeah. That's a great question. I've
Yeah.
never asked myself that. I don't know if I would have because they just weren't like the right
The fit.
fit for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And what did happen was once I got into rehab nursing, I did buy a house, get married, have the
Mhm.
kids. So that's when you decide like, oh, now I really need this job. I can't just quit
True,
before I have a new one like I
true.
did before. I just quit. My manager's like, where are you going? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have another job plan. I just know I'm
Wow.
leaving this place.
Yeah, wow, that takes faith.
Yeah, like I've done that. So when I got into rehab and then all of a sudden again, the mortgage, the kids, the marriage, it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
like, okay, I have to stay somewhere I actually really, really need an income.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were on management for quite a while. What were some of the things that really lit you up about that job?
Ooh, okay. That really lit me up. The main thing that lit me up was that this is going to sound funny, but that I did not have to take care of patients.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like this big weight off of me.
Wow.
I could come into work and not dread it because I
Mhm.
really did dread patient care and just always getting out late. My time management
Yeah.
sucked. So management, I felt what lit me up was just
Yeah.
coaching the employees,
Yeah.
hiring, disciplining, mentoring, coaching, like the whole aspect of what I was doing with the employees was really something that I loved.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then
Yeah.
how did you make your way into coaching?
Yeah. So the way I found nurse coaching was I've always been into personal development. I've always dabbled in it. It's always been a hobby of mine
Mhm.
from way back when, from like age 20 and up. And I found that I was able to use that in the management. And that's
Mhm.
why I really liked it. What happened was back in 2019, I went on a healing journey,
Mm.
started with a rock bottom moment that I
Mm.
had. I always carried with me depression and anger and rage, always.
Mm.
Yeah, and just would just do all the things we do to not feel it, pretend it doesn't exist,
Yeah.
blame everybody else in my life for it, hate myself for it. And then in 2019, I hit this rock bottom
Mm.
moment with me and my mom and went into my therapist's office, who I had been seeing for years. I'd been in a therapy container since I was a kid, on and off for most of my life.
Wow.
So I was in a therapy container and I just told her, I said, I gotta dive into this rage. I don't know what this is. And it was like the first time I ever even said it out loud. So we went in and discovered that I had childhood trauma because I told her, I don't know if I was abused. Like, I
Mhm.
think I was, but I'm not sure. It was like one of those things.
Mhm.
And when she told me, because it was traditional CBT,
Mhm.
cognitive behavioral therapy. And when she told me, like, this is abuse, you are
Mm.
abused, it was like in that moment, it came out of the shadows, like this thing that was just hiding and under the surface. It was like, whoosh. And after that, I can't even tell you like what happened to me. Like my whole world was kind of turned over on its
Mhm.
axis and everything changed after that. Um, but went on this deep, deep, deep healing journey. And in the therapy container, which I'm so grateful for because
Yeah.
she brought it out, she
Yeah.
confirmed it. The most impactful thing that my therapist ever did for me was tell me, like, Amy, I believe you. Like, you don't have to prove this to me. I
Mhm.
believe you. And that was the main thing because when it was happening when I was a child, I was telling so many people.
Okay.
I was like the opposite. Like my brother, he
Yeah.
was so quiet, he never
Yeah.
said a word. And I was blabbing it to everybody
Yeah.
and got gaslighted as a child, like,
Mm.
oh, Amy, this, oh, Amy just misses her, oh, Amy, like all of that. So it was like when she said, I believe you, like I just like started crying
Mhm.
right there. It was like the little girl that was never believed was
Mhm.
believed. Went on this huge journey of healing, had to learn about all the somatic modalities because I was literally scurrying. The
Yeah.
therapy was not enough. It was bringing up these traumatic memories that were re-traumatizing
Yeah.
me, but we were not getting in the body. We were not doing anything
Right.
somatic.
Yeah.
So through that pain, that anguish, I found EFT tapping. I went to an
Mm.
energy healer. I started just reading books and like learning from coaches. And I just, stream of consciousness, writing
Yeah.
and like screaming and rage release, all this stuff because I needed it.
Yeah.
And then came um, yeah, read a book and dove into the rage for the first time.
Wow.
And I will just say that was the first time I ever dove into what was uncomfortable in my
Mm.
body. And that was a life changing moment. Life changing because underneath that anger that I was always trying to hide was this monumental pile of shame. It was
Mhm.
just so much
Mhm.
shame. And like, I just cried and cried and cried and cried myself to sleep that night that I meditated this guided meditation by Tim Desmond. I was reading a book. He had these
Mm.
guiding meditations. And anyway, woke up feeling neutral after
Mhm.
like crying myself to sleep and couldn't believe how powerful it was to actually dive into the thing in my body that was
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the question was, how did I come to coaching? Through that healing journey,
Mhm.
what started happening was when I got through the shit and the muck and the mire and like started releasing what I was holding, all of a sudden, Jen, I mean, it was crazy. Like I started walking differently. Like I started walking
Wow.
with my shoulders back and my head up. My vision got better. I didn't need glasses anymore.
Amazing.
I felt a veil lift off my head
Yeah.
one day in my kitchen, and I literally said, "That's my depression." Like the fact that my childhood
Yeah.
trauma was in the shadows was this
Yeah.
veil, and it just lifted and left my body. I came off antidepressants. Here's another thing, my body. I was a binge drinker.
Mm.
I was a binge. I never called myself a drug addict, but I love drugs. I loved ecstasy
Mm.
when I
Oh,
was
wow.
in college and a
Yeah.
kid. Like I was a every weekend binge drinker, every
Yeah.
weekend dropping ecstasy and
Yeah.
like doing all sorts of things. All of a sudden, my body rejected alcohol.
Wow.
That was like another change in my body from this healing work that was happening from
Incredible.
literally releasing the rage, the childhood trauma. So what started happening was I opened up to
Mhm.
things and I started seeing things differently. And I started seeing dreams come to pass. You know, I bought my twins their first car. I uncluttered my home from top to bottom. Like I just started doing all of these things and then saying, what else is possible?
Yes.
What else is possible? Like, what else can I do? Like, oh my gosh. Like, so it was like I was healing and then opening up and doing things that I was telling myself my whole life I couldn't. And I saw myself doing these things that I'd wanted to do for like years.
Wow.
And I saw myself doing them. So then I was like, let's go into the career because career was too big. It was like, nope, we're good. We're happy.
Yeah.
And I want to preface by saying, this was happening around the pandemic time.
Hmm.
I was always, again, I was happy where I was at as a manager. Like I was status quo. It was
Yeah.
good. I was not unhappy.
Yeah.
But I just said, let's go here. And I started doing these questions from a famous coach, Jack Canfield. He has a
Hmm.
book, The Success Principles. And he has you answer these questions like, what do I love to do? I would do for free. And
Hmm.
I never asked myself those types of questions. So it was like, oh, like this healing work that I'm doing, this EFT tapping, like coaching, like personal development work. This has always been a love of mine since I was a kid. And then like the ad on Facebook came by for the Nurse
They are
Coach
the
Collective.
best marketing strategies. It hits you at just the right time. It's incredible.
And I told Heather, I said, I don't know if it was the Facebook algorithm or the universe, like
Yep. Or
bringing
a
it
little bit
into
of
my
both.
awareness. But it was like bing, bang, boom. And that was it. March of 2021, I enrolled in the school and did the school while I was working and then just decided to go for it. It was, dreaming big was opened up to me for the first time.
Yeah.
Success is possible for anyone, not just those people. So it's available to me too. And all it takes is me deciding and going after it intentionally. I mean, I'm a coach now for 3 years. Like, this is what we do, but these were novel, mind blowing concepts for
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, if success really is a process, well, let me just follow the process. And here I am 3 years in and let go of 23 years of nursing entirely. I am not a nurse in the hospital anymore. I'm
Yeah.
just 100% entrepreneur and continue to do this like every year, continue to like break these barriers
Hmm.
and just decide, okay, what is it I want to do next? Okay,
And you're
let's
doing the
find the
things.
process and let's
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is incredible. And I just want to acknowledge the incredible work that you did
Mm,
personally to get
mm,
here. It's hard. It's really hard. And but you found resources and you found tools and knowledge and support to help you get through it. But you're the one that did that. If you hadn't have had and been open to it, you wouldn't be where you are now. And so it's incredible the amount of work that you've done in a relatively short period of time. Pretty
mm.
amazing. So good for you.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And I do want to say there was this question that I asked myself at that time period, like, because I was 42, I'm
Mm-hmm.
46 now, but I was 42. And it wasn't in a book, it just came to me. It was like, I've lived half my life. And it was just like this, I've lived half my life, right? We have about 80 years. What am I doing with the other half now that I uncovered this, now that I
Yeah.
healed this, right? Now that I'm I was just like, what am I doing with the other half?
Yeah.
And the answer was, well, what if we made our second half of life our best?
Heck
What would
yeah.
what would that look like? And it started with like all these things, but it started with, yeah, we're going to go after the dream. We're going to become a coach, right? Always loved psychology.
Yeah.
It was my choice in nursing. And then it just seemed like this amazing fit.
Yes. Yes.
There was a little bit of, do I want to be a coach? Do I want to be a psychiatric nurse
Hmm.
practitioner?
Hmm.
There was a little bit of that happening. But the coaching thing was
Yeah.
just, I was like, I'm going to go to the school that looks fun and looks like I'd have a good time. Cause I was like, I get to choose, right? I get
Yep.
to decide.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find myself similar journey midlife and so many women that I talk to, and it's like, if we can choose. We can choose how the next half of our life looks. And I don't know, and maybe I just didn't pay attention, but I feel like previous generations didn't even I don't know. It's like they didn't even know that was an option to like change things for themselves. And I feel like a lot of us now are doing this work to break these generational patterns and to say, well, no, I don't want to do it that way anymore. I want to find healing. I want to do it my way. And it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That just brings me to, because I coach women, and I
Mhm.
coach women from in their 20s to, I've coached a woman who was 70.
Yeah.
And you do see like the older women, right? The women in their later
Mhm.
60s and early 70s, they're hearing the same things we
Yeah.
are, this personal development, like you can choose, you can decide, you
Mhm.
can change, and they want that too.
Beautiful.
As a coach, there is a difference with how long you've held an old
Oh,
story in your body,
yes.
right? So when I coach women of all different ages, I do notice a difference. So if you want to use the word like it's harder to release an
Mhm.
old story,
Mhm.
I do notice that those old stories, those women, that grew up even like 20 years before I
Yeah.
did, they're really holding that patterning, that societal conditioning
Yes.
of the sister wounds a
Yes.
little stronger
For sure.
than even me. And then, so I have noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And what type of, coaching clients, what are you drawn to, or who is drawn to you? What is your focus area if you have one?
Yeah. Well, I have taken on confidence life coach because when I was coaching initially, I was like, what am I doing? Who am I helping? Like, what is the work that I do?
Mhm.
I knew it was deep and powerful and transformative. And really, at the end, the result is confidence, courage, emotional freedom.
Mm.
So my passion really is women. It's women, like I said, age 20s to 60s, but generally I really seem to be, what seems to come in really are those middle-aged
Yeah.
women, their 40s and
Yeah.
50s, that are ready for that midlife transformation, and they're ready to do the deeper work,
Mm.
because I have chosen, my coaching does involve going back to roots and origins and
Yes.
working with the inner child and doing the healing work, because as I've experienced, when we're creating a new story, we come head to head with the old,
Uh-huh.
and we need to give it love and compassion, and we need to heal that part of us so that we can create the space, for a new story to be created. So when people are like really really stuck and they don't know why, they just want to move forward. I don't want to go back to the past. Like, I don't want to deal with that
Yeah.
shit.
100%.
And I get it. I totally get it. And it is the pathway to where you want to go. It's almost like, I want to go here, but it's like, wait a minute, you have to go here first and
Yeah.
then there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, we've all probably tried to skirt around it and pretend like
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to go there. And then you finally, I think when you accept it, when you have that acceptance, you're like, okay, this is gonna suck. It's gonna be really hard. And I don't know how I'm gonna make it through, but you do. And when you get in it and you have support with that and you get to the other side, and it's not that it goes away and that you don't remember, but I've noticed that as I've let stuff go, the physical sensations, the symptoms I was having have been able to release, and I don't recall things with as much intensity of emotion. And so it's still there. It's always a part of me, but I'm loving on it. I'm supporting and seeing it from a different perspective. And it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you just said is really how I've learned to coach, is that the
Mhm.
pathway to confidence is to meet your self-doubt and your
Yeah.
fear with love and
Yes.
compassion. So how do you create confidence? You have to go to the fear and the self-doubt first. How do you create, you know, the freedom? You have to go to the
Mhm.
part of you that is a victim, that is stuck, that is in still in bondage, right?
Yeah.
For that believes, she's still a victim, even if it's like hidden in the shadows. And
Right.
it's through the part of you that's a victim that you become free. Like it really is this beautiful process that I think, if I probably can't say this enough to myself and my
Yeah.
clients, is that there is nothing wrong with you. Like there's
Oh,
nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any part of you. Like we just need to continue to meet it layer by layer
yeah.
with love and compassion.
Mm. Thank you. I feel that message today. And I certainly know it's going to resonate with others. Mm. What would be some, if somebody's maybe not quite ready to work with a coach, but they want to kind of start doing this work, exploring, what would be a couple of suggestions that they could start? Simple, tangible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like meaning the deeper, like
Yeah.
diving a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a great start is just the 5 4 3 2 1 grounding
Mm.
process. I
Yeah.
love that.
Will you walk me through that?
Yeah. So, okay, right now, let's just do it right here and right now. I
Yeah.
do it every day. I do it every
Okay.
morning while I'm walking. So if
Okay.
anyone's listening, I would highly recommend this on like a little walk, but you could do it
Okay.
in your room.
Okay.
So it's just, okay, let's start with feeling, right?
Okay.
You just drop into, you go through all 5 senses. Let's just start with feeling. So intentionally bring your awareness to your buttocks and feel your buttocks on the chair. Okay, feel my buttocks on the chair. And then maybe bring your awareness to how the shirt feels on your arms. And just breathe. And right now, bring your awareness to how your feet feel on the ground. Notice the way it feels on the bottom of your feet. Is it hard? Is it slippery? Is there a rug? Okay. And that's 3 things that you just felt. And now, with your eyes closed, let's go to hearing. So, just sitting there in the chair, noticing how my voice is coming in through the speaker of the computer. And then noticing any sounds that you hear in the room that the house is making. Could be the humming of the heat or the air. Okay. And now we can move to vision. You can open those eyes and just go ahead and focus in on one item that's in front of you. And why don't you just tell me what it is?
Immediately, I focused on the plant in the background so I can see through my camera.
Yeah, and right now, as you're focused on the plant, just in a sentence or two, just describe it to me as you're looking at it.
Yeah, I just love how the pop of color against the black and white represents life and growth to me. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Now focus on another item in the room.
Immediately caught my eye again. Just it's behind me, my Brene Brown Atlas of the Heart book. It's one of my favorites. It's got some beautiful illustrations in it, and I was picturing a couple in there.
Yeah. And just if you look at the book, because I could see it too,
Mhm.
just really describing it like, oh, it's
Mhm.
red with that
Yeah.
beautiful green heart and the gold like letters,
Yes.
just really taking those moments sent to describe what you're seeing and hearing sensorily.
Hmm.
And then there's smell. So maybe you want to close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and just notice, and even, talking to yourself what you're smelling, describing it to yourself.
I've got the laundry going down the hall, and so I just got a little whiff of the. I think it's like the dryer sheet, actually. Yeah,
Mm,
pleasant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And last is taste, just
Mm.
actually dropping into your mouth and seeing what you taste.
A little bit of coffee left over.
Mm, yeah. And that is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method where you're
Love
just
that.
dropping into each sense one at a time.
Yeah.
And it's just getting you present in the
Yeah.
here, in the now.
Beautiful.
It's
And I
getting you.
definitely felt a sense of just that calming, relaxing focus. And um, I like how you also mentioned you can do it while you're walking. So it is, I mean, obviously when you're close your eyes, probably want to pause, but it could be an active movement as well as sitting in kind of like a quiet, solid grounding space too.
Yeah, I don't close my eyes when I'm walking and doing
Yeah.
it, but I just take time with the senses, and
Yeah.
it just gets you really present. It gets you
Mhm.
out of your mind. And if somebody were starting just any kind of process that gets you in the now
Mhm.
is going to be therapeutic. And it's interesting because you mentioned about anyone who's not working with a coach. And I I have a personal opinion on working with coaches.
Do it.
Okay. Nobody needs, right? If we go with need or want and
Mhm.
desire, you can do it alone. However, you don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to. And why would you?
Yeah.
I personally believe that everybody should have a coach. That's just my own personal opinion,
Yeah.
because when you have that space, that loving, safe, strong someone that's going to hold you week by week in your life, no matter what's
Yes.
happening, like it just feels, you feel so loved and
Mhm.
supported and held. And I do this work, this emotional mastery work with myself. I do inner child channeling. I
Yeah.
do all of the things. I can do it all on my own. And I still have a coach hold space for me every week. And I love that because I could save things. We do have a bias when it comes to
Yes,
ourselves,
indeed.
and we do sometimes need someone to hold a space. So we are doing our own work, but having space held for you to do work with somebody else is
Right.
just so mind blowing. It's
Yeah,
so transformative, and it's so worth it's so worth it.
I agree.
All of it. Yeah.
Mhm. Beautiful. Oh, this has been awesome, Amy. I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot to run through that exercise because I think that was really powerful as a way
Mm.
within a couple of minutes you can get out of your racing mind and into your body into a safe place and just really find a little bit of peace in that moment and then kind of go from there. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So in our last couple minutes, is there anything on your heart that you want to share with our group today?
Hmm. Okay. If I were to share one thing with anyone who's listening, because I did set an intention when I came
Mm,
in, which the intention was really for you who is listening to know that wherever you are, like literally you can stop right now, wherever you are right now, in this very moment, whether you're depressed on the couch and like overweight and
mhm,
feeling terrible about yourself, or whether you're killing it and knocking it out of the park, or whether you're that busy, busy, busy person that doesn't have time to ever think about yourself, just whoever you are, where you are, there is nothing wrong with you. You're a human having a human experience. And if you wanted to do something powerful, so it's probably something that you've never done before,
mm,
is just take stock to ask yourself, what's the emotion I can't bear to feel right now?
mm.
Forget the thoughts. Forget what the thoughts are telling you a bunch of garbage. They're telling you you're no good, you're crap, you're terrible, you have to do this. Okay, back it up.
Yeah.
What's the emotion
Yeah.
that your thoughts don't like feeling?
Yeah.
And feel it.
Mm,
Drop into it. Is it disappointment? Is it frustration? Is it shame? Like, just allow yourself to be with it and don't try to make it leave. Don't try to make it do anything. Just
yeah.
be with it. And you will be shocked at how that energy will move through you. And you will feel so different just from being with the emotion underneath what the critic is telling you.
Yes. Yes. Incredible. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Amy. This has been wonderful.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me, Jen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And where can people find you to reach out?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing too.
Oh,
I'm
thank you. You're
really,
welcome.
really proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And just think it's awesome how you bring on nurse coaches every
Mm,
week and connect and have them share their stories. It's really beautiful.
thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
honored.
So, if anyone would like to connect with me, my name is Amy Colombo, three O's. I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, and I will give Jen a little thing to put.
Perfect.
And
I'll
yeah,
stick
anyone
it in the
that
show
wants
notes.
can grab my freebie. I have a freebie, the Confidence Mini Series,
Perfect.
which is just a little mini program. It's for free. I created it last year, and anybody that wants that can grab it. And of course, if anybody would love to get on a call with me, I'd like to offer anyone listening a free clarity call, which
Nice.
is where I take you through a deep process of inquiry of where you are and where you want to be and what it would look like um, to work through that gap with me as your coach.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This
Mm,
has been awesome.
you're welcome. It has been.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.